Today's your lucky day. I'm making banana bread. Hi everybody, thanks so much for stopping by the homestead. My name is Sarah from Living Traditions Homestead, and after many requests and suggestions, I am going to be sharing with you my banana bread recipe. Now, in a previous video, I had talked about our really awesome grocery store haul where we saved 70% on old bananas, and I blended them all up and I put them in individual freezer bags so that I could pull them out of the freezer, and whenever I wanted to make banana bread, I would have the perfect amount in each freezer bag. And I'm using that today. I have my banana mixture thawing. It's actually all thawed. And we're going to be using that today. So that's what we're up to. I'm so glad you stopped by. And we're going to get started. Now, I do want to say that my banana bread is like almost famous. Really, I'm just kidding. But at our farmer's market, it is a huge hit. We have people come by every week to buy just slices of banana bread. In fact, there's one person that every week comes and buys 7 slices of banana bread so that he has breakfast every single morning. So I'm super pleased that people like my baking and like my cooking. And because of that, that's why I'm sharing it. So now, just to let you know, whenever I bake banana bread, I always bake 2 loaves. That just seems to make sense to me, and why not bake 2 loaves? And so that's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to share the recipe in the description below so that when we're going along, I don't have to worry about telling you the measurements and stuff, and you don't feel like you have to quick write them down. They'll be there for you, okay? So we're going to get started, and I have 2 separate bowls here, one for the dry ingredients, one for the wet ingredients. And I always start with the dry ingredients first. That's just what I do. There's the flour. We have switched to all organic flour on our homestead. And we need some sugar. Now, in this recipe, it calls for quite a bit of sugar. In the doubled batch that I'm doing right now, it calls for 3 cups of sugar. That's a lot of sugar in my eyes. So I generally cheat and don't completely fill the cups. So, and it seems to work out fine. And I've actually had people at the farmer's market say, gosh, I really like your banana bread because it's not so sickeningly sweet. There we go with that. Put some salt in there. Now we use non-GMO sugar, and we use pink Himalayan salt. Now I'm going to teach you a little trick with baking soda, and I also use this same trick with baking powder and cocoa powder, anything that's a really fine powder. Here in Missouri, it gets pretty humid, and so those ingredients sometimes clump together. So what I do is I sift them into my dry mixture so that there aren't big clumps of those ingredients within the banana bread. Have you ever bitten into a piece of banana bread or a cake or something like that, and all of a sudden you have like a big ball of salt or a big ball of baking powder or something, and it tastes terrible? That is what I'm preventing here. So I'm just putting it through this little strainer and shaking it to sift that all out. So that's it for the dry ingredients. I'm just going to mix that up a little bit and move on to our wet ingredients. Okay, so we're going to start off with some eggs. These are from our chickens here. When I bake things, I like to crack my eggs into a clear bowl because it's easier for me to see if I've accidentally put an eggshell in there. Whereas this bowl over here, it's white on the inside, and then if I get a little piece of eggshell in there, I can't really see it, and I don't want my family or my customers to accidentally bite into an eggshell. So that looks good. I'm going to whisk that up until they're all mixed together. Next, I'm going to add in the oil. I like to add oil into eggs because it emulsifies easier, and then it's not separated when I'm trying to mix in other ingredients. We use mostly coconut oil for baking on our homestead because the vegetable oils in the store are mostly GMO. Unless it's organic, all canola oil, soybean oil, and corn oil are GMO products. So we use mostly coconut oil. We use a lot of olive oil too, but not in baking. So I'm going to add that in, and because of the eggs, the oil and the eggs will mix together really well and emulsify and then not separate again in the liquid ingredients. Okay, adding some milk. We use raw milk from a friend. We have goats, dairy goats, but right now only one is able to be milked, and she is more trouble than it's worth. And I'm going to be using homemade vanilla. This is vanilla beans, a couple of vanilla beans in a jar filled up with vodka. And then you let it sit for at least 6 weeks. Maybe not 6 weeks, 3 maybe. It's amazing. And then all that's left in here is the banana. So I have 2 cups of thawed banana puree in here. And you know, the nice thing about doing it this way is I don't have to worry about smashing up the bananas, especially when I'm in a hurry. And then when I need them, they're all measured out for me. I can just pour them in. The only thing I don't like about this is that I really don't like washing these out, and so I don't end up reusing them. I just end up tossing them, and I don't like creating garbage. That is mixed up. Now, I'm going to dump all the liquid ingredients into the dry ingredients, but before I do that, I always make sure that I have my bread pans ready and I spray them with oil. I already have them all set. The oven is ready to go at 325. I've already preheated that, so we're going to mix these together and then pour them into the pans right away and get them into the oven. With sweetbreads, or commonly called quick breads, you don't want to overstir them. So you really just want to stir them until they're combined and then stop. Otherwise they will get kind of dense and not super fluffy. Now, banana bread in general is a dense bread, but we just want to do kind of the minimum amount of stirring. Although because I'm doing a double batch, it takes a little bit more stirring than just a single batch. Okay, and I find it very important to use a rubber spatula to scrape down the sides and make sure that everything is combined, so that after I pour these into my bread pans, I don't have a bunch of flour, gook, and stuff stuck on the bottom of the pan, or just hanging out inside my batter somewhere. Okay, that's all set. So these are the 2 bread pans I'm going to be using. For some reason, for me, this recipe does best in glass pans. They stick a lot less when I'm pulling them out of the pans after they're cooked. So I highly recommend using glass bread pans. Now, what we need to do now is to pour them equally into each one of these. It can be a little bit tricky at first, but then you just kind of get used to it. If you're worried about it, just put a little in here back and forth on each side until you're all done and it's even. If you end up pouring them unevenly, like actually I just did, then just scoop some out of the one that's too full and put it into the one that doesn't have enough until they're the same. Okay, these guys are all set to go into the oven. We're putting them into a 325 oven for about an hour and 20 minutes. At that time, we'll pull them out and poke them with a toothpick and make sure that the insides are dry. It can be a little bit tricky with banana bread because a banana sometimes is sticky on the inside. But we'll stick these in and come back in about an hour and 20 minutes. Okay, they're all done and they are perfect and beautiful. It took it almost exactly an hour and 20 minutes on 325. They turned out just perfectly. They've rested for about 5 minutes. I'm going to take them out of the pans and let them cool on the cooling rack completely before we slice them. And after they cool completely, you can wrap them up in plastic wrap and put them in your refrigerator. If you want to freeze one, they freeze really, really nicely. And when I do that, I cover them first in plastic wrap, and then I cover them again in foil and put them in the freezer. And I've actually had sweetbreads, quick breads in the freezer for over a year and take them out and they still taste great. So this is a perfect thing to make 2 of them at one time. Use one of them to enjoy with your family, stick the other one in the freezer, and then if you have a church event, you can just pull it out, or if you, at the spur of a moment, have a girlfriend over or a friend over for coffee, you can just pull it out of the freezer overnight and have a wonderful banana bread. So that's it. That's my secret recipe for my famous banana bread. No longer a secret now. You can have amazing banana bread too. Thanks so much for joining me in the kitchen today on the homestead. I really appreciate you stopping by. Before you go, make sure that you hit the subscribe button below if you already have not done so. We've got a lot more to come in the future, a lot more fun things. I also like to hear comments, and we love to see thumbs up. So you guys, until next time, take care and God bless.